Well, hi, thanks for tuning in for another edition of the ICA Sports and Fitness Science Podcast. And today I'd like to introduce a friend of mine and a colleague, co-worker, I don't know the right word, a guy I've worked with for many years, John Walter. I first met John many years ago when I was volunteering at East High School with our friend JJ, and John was at Boylan High School with our other friend Dr. Whitehurst. And we met the sidelines, and over time, now we work together with the Rockford IceHogs. So, John, you want to introduce you, say hi to everybody, and tell us what I left out?
Yeah, no, that's a small world, especially in Rockford like that, where we are later all going to work together at some point, and it's basically how I ended up getting into this role as the head trainer here in Rockford. Was the previous guy that was in charge reached out to me because I'd been at Boylan for 26 years, and he had known me, and so yeah, we just started a relationship that way, and next thing you know, here we are, and we're working together, and yeah, so.
You know, a lot of chiropractors talk to me about how did you get your foot in the door with the sports team? And I would say, you being at Boylan High School, working with head orthopedic doctor at the time with the hockey team, probably opened some doors for you to get involved in the hockey team, correct?
Oh yeah, I mean that I think that helped too because I know that Dr. Whitehurst probably talked with DJ about the overtime, a number of times, and Dr. Whitehurst and we've got a really good relationship. Worked together with him. I think it was 17 years out at Boylan. I think he was with me, and yeah, it's good to have a good rapport, and it's not just with him; it's with his entire group over at the Illinois. We all those docs over there, we've got to know each other really well, and it's like we're talking, you know, we're friends, right? And it's really easy to have conversation. And if I got an idea about something, I don't feel like I can't approach them with this. And they're going to lay it to me straight, and they're going to give us the best route to take with the players. And we follow that, and everything seems to work pretty good.
And that's kind of the point today. I wanted to bring you on the podcast is a lot of chiropractors, when they want to get involved in teams, they don't know how to do the team approach. They've been in private practice by themselves. And you being the head athletic trainer and me being the team chiropractor, over the years, we've learned that you got to be able to have a certain teamwork in order to do things together. And we talk a lot of times about staying in your lane. And you run, well, why don't you tell us all who's on the medical team in a typical game first? How many lanes we
Yeah, yeah.
actually have?
Yeah, after we got going here, I was gonna mention a couple other people, but yeah, first of all, Dr. Jeff Anthiel is our head team physician now, and he's over at Ortho Illinois. But we've got a good group. We've got 5 doctors over there that rotate. Each game, we will have a orthopedic surgeon, we will have a chiropractor, we will have a dentist, we will have a internal medicine doctor, EMS, obviously, and we also will have an emergency physician on hand for every game. We got a really good relationship with the doctors over at Mercy Health right now, our lead practice doctors and ER docs, and we've got a really nice system in place so that if we need anything emergent or during a game or just if somebody, one of the players or their wives or staff members or their wives, an issue that needs to be addressed, then yeah, basically I can pick up the phone and reach out to you or any of them, and you guys are awesome about getting them in right away. And like you said, it's teamwork, and sometimes it's not the most convenient thing, and we understand that on our end when we reach out to you guys. But it's appreciative on our end when you're able to get a guy in.
I suppose with that many people there all working in one game, it would make your life absolutely miserable if a guy had separated his shoulder and me and the team dentist said, let's try that.
Ah, we're gonna have to be in some bad shape before I start reaching that direction. No offense. No, but you guys everybody plays a big role, and on game night, it seems like whenever there's anything that does come up that we do need an assistant hand or another hand in there to help out. You guys, everybody knows their roles, like you say, and they can see if this is something. Hey, can I help out? What can I do to help out? And that's probably the best way to go about doing it is just like you said, you sit back, you kind of survey the scene and decide, do they need me to do, even if it's holding a door, whatever it might be, something simple. But yeah, that works best.
think I've had the position of crowd control more than once just to stick my butt in
Yeah,
the air so nobody records
yeah,
anything.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And that, it comes back to another really important thing when you're working as a team chiropractor is the players. We have a practice before the season starts where you communicate with us what you expect to have happen should somebody get hurt.
Right.
So the communication, you can't say enough about it, correct?
Right. We do that, before the season when we get all the staff in for just to go over emergency practices and policies and what, lay out everything, what we're going to do for different scenarios, and that way everybody is on the same page. We'll talk about it actually before every game with our emergency medical services team. The EMS guys from Ridge come in, and before every game, myself and the head trainer from the other team will meet with the team physician as well as the EMS. And so we just review. And it might be something where they're around at our arena, 3 days in that week or 5 days in 2 weeks or whatever, but we still review it every day just to make sure that, nobody's forgot something, or if there happens to be a new member that comes in, that everybody's aware of what's going on.
Now you would go on the road too with the guys a lot. And do you find that different teams have different ways of doing things or is it pretty universal?
You know what? It's pretty much universal. And that's one of the things that we will discuss too when we have our little breakouts is, if it came to a spinal injury, how are we going to handle that on the ice? Some teams will do a log roll to get a player onto the spine board. Other teams like to lift and slide. And that's, that's really important, because if it comes down to a situation like that and we think one thing is going to happen and another team thinks another thing is going to happen, that's confusion. That doesn't look good. And it's not the best scenario for the player or the staff when something like that goes on.
No, I mean, you and I have been trying to guide this podcast for the chiropractor that wants to get involved into sports. And I know we're talking about the Ice Hogs here, and we have basically a very similar setup to the NHL as far as what's expected at the games, because it's the same players union, the same levels of expertise required. I have to imagine what there's going to be people. We talked a little bit about a communication chain. You want to talk a little bit about the communication chain?
Between us and Chicago, or?
Well, no, if I think a player's lower back is tight, you don't want me to go knock on the coach's door and say, this guy probably shouldn't go,
Oh, yeah,
correct?
yeah. Right. Yeah. So if during a game, if something occurs and a player comes off the ice, I don't realize something's going on. And they come straight to you and they say, I'm kind of locked up right now. That's when it's you and I will communicate, and you'll be like, okay. And you can go forward with the treatment at that point and kind of decide what's best for the player. And sometimes that little bit of an adjustment, so they will get them lined up again. They can get through the rest of the night. Other times it's just, it doesn't want to go the right direction. And that happens, right? And then you and I kind of talk about it, and then I will go into the coach's office, like you say, and I'll be like, hey, this guy can't go for the rest of the
But
night. So that's a
imagine if
tough,
I watched it.
that's a tough conversation to have a lot of times too,
Yep.
but that goes with it. Fortunately, we don't have to do that as often as, we could, so.
And imagine if I was going in there and doing that, that would probably be one of my last games, correct?
We don't like to, yes. You and I wouldn't say probably the last game. I think we could probably figure something out in conversation, but yeah, no. And that's the thing that's nice about you and is everybody understands that, it's my job to go in and say something to the staff. Even if you were to mention something to an assistant, we don't even want to do that. It comes through me so that everybody knows, especially the head coach and myself. We have to have that communication, that line of communication going. And then that also being said is we will also reach out to our general manager and let him know if a player is going to be returning or not returning, and try to give him an idea so that he can start actually thinking about, all right, well, we got another game tomorrow night. This is where we're at with injuries with our team right now. I might have to call up another guy from Indy and go that route. So it's not just as simple as a, 2-second conversation. There's a lot of things that are going on, and yes, you're right. For I'm the guy that needs to make that decision and communicate people above me. So
And that extends more than just a game day. So if it's a Tuesday afternoon and one of the guys rolls into my office and tells me he's been having some hip flexor issues and lower back tightness, it's very, very important that I let you know that, because there's a chance you didn't know that guy walked in my office.
yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that's really nice too, is you guys, whenever our players do go over that direction, they always get a note from you letting me know. So even if, you get busy, I get busy, at least I see that email that comes through, and then I can reach out to the player, the next day, or even that night. I'll probably reach out to them and say, hey, what's going on? And they can tell me. So
The nice thing is, like, when I see a guy come in, let's say I find this guy tore the pelvis with a tight piriformis on one side, a tight iliopsoas on the other, I'm able to communicate with you, and then you're able to tell your assistant and the strength conditioning coach and the massage therapist, rather than me have to call each one and tell each one what's going on. And then you can share all that information from all of them to all of us. And it's really cool how it works.
yeah, right. And then that way, the strength coach, massage therapist, we got our strength guys. Paul Sawyer's been with us for a couple of years. Patrick Chum, my assistant, is we had a great relationship for a number of years now. And then our massage therapist, Harrison Maya, yeah, he's an awesome guy too. He really knows his stuff. And right. If you say that, you've got a certain area, you feel like a guy is kind of locked down a little bit, then we can address that with Harry, usually initially, especially if it's during a game, but even during the week. And he'll try to do some work with him, and then we'll go in to talk with the strength coach, and we try to pinpoint exercises, and the two of us will work together. I've got a pretty good background with physical therapy. And so, yeah, Paul and I will try to, and Chun will, between the three of us, will try to come up with a plan to target those areas that are specifically the ones that are giving player problems.
I was still talking about the opposite of that, because many years ago, before you were there, we were in a different hockey league. We were a UHL, minor league hockey team. And there was games, and I went, it was just me, the trainer, and the owner, who was a dentist, and that was it. And you'd been in situations where it's maybe just you and Dr. Whitehurst, or maybe even less than that. And that's a whole different ballpark. So new chiropractor getting involved, you might find yourself as one of the, you might have to make ice bags, right? And do more than your job requirement. So talk a little bit about that environment too. I know you've been in that environment too.
Yeah. So yeah, it is sometimes becomes an all hands on deck type of thing. And it's funny because I've thought about this many times, that the higher level that you get in my job, I think, not that it's easier, but there are more people, ancillary people, to help out with things from day to day and everything else. It's almost like, I'm not going to say the job gets easier, because I don't want, but when you're standing by yourself in a high school setting, or like you said, in the UHL days, when it was just JJ here and you, and there's things that happen, and you don't know if it's going to be one thing that night, or it could be 10 things that night. And so, yeah, everybody's got to, again, you communicate. That's the big thing, what the plan is to do with the player. But I think too, though, when you guys get a chance to come in and get your hands on people a little bit and get involved, I think that makes you feel good about, what you're doing there that night too. And that's why, I feel very comfortable with you and your staff, and with our medical team, that everybody just, like I said earlier, they just know their roles. And it's fun. You can make this as miserable as you want, and as sterile as you want, or you can make it an environment where everybody sits back and relax and gets to know each other on a personal basis. And I think that's the key too. You gotta know everybody's personalities a little bit. So I think it works really well here.
I can remember being at a high school game with JJ, and I don't know, the other team even had a trainer, and we had about 4 people go down at once, and JJ ran over and was doing quick assessments. Okay, you sit with this guy, don't let him move. I got to go over here. I just sat with him, talked to him a little bit, and he's like, "What kind of doctor are you?" I said, "Doesn't matter. Just sit here with me." Those are the fun days, right?
That is, and that was the thing too. Yeah, when football was one thing where usually each team had an athletic trainer on their sideline, but not always. And it never failed. Those nights were, like you say, those were the nights where, you would have a kid from the other team get hurt. And then one of your guys gets hurt, then your coach is looking for you here on the other sideline. And yeah, it gets touchy sometimes back in the high school days. But yeah, it is. And then we've all gone through as athletic trainers, like those scenarios, those situations where, at the end of the night, you just sit back and just take that deep breath, like what just happened? Because it's just a crazy night, So yeah, that's part of the job, I guess.
If I wanted to summarize this to a new chiropractor thinking about getting involved in a team, I would say the key is to stay in your lane, know your job and do your job, communicate like crazy, let everyone know what's going on and wait to be communicated back, and be prepared for what you're not prepared for, because things can change real fast.
Yeah. The biggest thing is if no matter who you are, when you come into a room, to a locker room situation setting, sometimes the less you say initially is better. Less is more type of mentality, right? People come in and they try to justify everything that they know and tell you everything that they know, and sometimes that's will be off-putting to the players and some of the staff members. So, everything is going to work itself out, in time with, a new situation, or like if you're when we're training or a hockey setting or football or whatever it might be. Yeah, just feel it out the first couple of nights or whatever, or come in and just do some observation first and decide whether, hey, is this something I really want to jump into or not, and we try to do that here too. When we bring new staff on or new docs that are kind of considering jumping in and joining our staff, is I tell them, listen, we'd love to have you, but I want you to feel comfortable with this and come down and let's watch a little bit, and you can get the feel of, game nights sometimes can get overwhelming, like you say, stuff that can happen just with the crowd and the intensity of the game or whatever it might be, or it could be a really bad night on the ice. And when that happens, then it's pretty somber in the training room. You don't want a whole lot of talking going on at that point. It's not time to sit and joke and laugh on those nights. So you got to be really wise about that.
My cousin experience more than anything else. And I was looking at my last 3 doctors that came into my practice. They spend a semester with me for shadowing. So they get to come down, like you said, and just shadow for a semester before they even got close to adjusting a player. So
yeah.
Well, I think we hit the topics tonight, unless I always give my stage to my guests. If you have any more final words you'd like to share with any young chiropractors thinking about getting involved in an athletic team.
Well, yeah, I know that there's plenty of teams that are out there, looking for that opportunity to have somebody else come on staff. It's not mandated, but it's sure is appreciated. And if you're looking to get into working with the team, baseball, hockey, football, whatever it might be, it's important to try to reach out and maybe establish that relationship with an athletic trainer. Become familiar with the setting and the scene, and initially it might be a voluntary thing, and then as things go and everybody gets more comfortable with the situation, the teams sometimes then will reach out and get reimbursement towards you as a chiropractor. And there's always, you can be pretty creative too, as how you can get reimbursed as well. So I think we've got a pretty decent setup the way we do things, and I think it works for you guys. And but that's probably the biggest thing is totally appreciated. And the more hands sometimes that you have, the more tools that you have as an athletic trainer to get your guys back to playing. That's what matters.
I said too, a lot of times, in not the AHL, the NHL level, but some of the lower leagues, sometimes you could be the reason a free agent comes in the team. They want to go to a team with a chiropractor. And so by having you on the team, you're kind of a selling point too. So, but yeah, it just comes down to communication, relationships, and doing your thing and not getting involved in other people's thing until you're asked.
You got it.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight. If you like what you hear and you're seeing, feel free to like and subscribe to this podcast. Try to come at you every 2 weeks. Dr. McDougall and I last podcast talked about how when you become a team chiropractor, you're probably not going to go out and buy a new boat right away. You're doing it for the love of being there. You're doing it for the love of sports and the love of being in the locker room, a part of the excitement more than anything else. And we do have some live webinars coming up, so make sure you keep watching and following us. And thanks for tuning in. And John, I want to thank you for taking time during your off season to spend it with the guy you have to hang out with during the season. So thank
Man,
you.
it was great. It was great seeing you for sure.
All right. Well, we'll say goodbye, everybody.